the longing and the intensity that you feel to know is what will keep waking you up more and more. And you'll eventually, as you get stuck in being somebody who's longing to know and who has that intensity. It's a funny thing because we see great beings as being greater than us, as being higher, and as being famous, and having devotees, and having siddhis, powers. When we see it from our point of view, we're kind of longing to be them, and to be like that, instead of to be like ourselves, like they are being. They're just being themselves. And they have the karma to be big boats, to some extent, to take a lot of people across. I'm a little paper origami thing somebody put in the water, We're all kind of, we're doing the same thing. We're going across. But we want to be great. We want to be high. We want to be free. We want to be wanna. Has nothing to do with being. Being a Siddha Mahatma is different than, it's not necessary to be that kind of being to be free, or to be enlightened, or to be here. There are many different levels of enlightenment. There's enlightenment where you still have to come back to a body because you haven't destroyed all the vasanas, all the karma of all the desires that we've had for so many millions of years. So even if we do cut through at one point in one life and see it and be it and are it, we're still in a car that's hurtling over a cliff or hurtling down the road, down the hill, with no brakes. It's good to be there, but we're still in that car. The car itself will be dismantled the more here we are. And eventually there'll be no tires, no seats, and we'll just come to a halt. There won't be anything pushing us into incarnation anymore, except if we cultivate compassion and caring for people. That becomes the attachment that allows a great being to be here for us. He doesn't want to be a great being. No, he doesn't get a kick out of being a great guru. He's only in a body because there are people who don't know what's going on. So he stays around. In Miracle of Love, there's a story about how he was in a room with a few old devotees, Indian devotees, and the guy says, "Oh, Maharaji, teach us something. Would you? I mean, come on, all you do is gossip about the family and what's going on, and you never teach us anything. We come to you, teach us, And he ignored the person, He ignored the person. And finally, the guy was so insistent, the guy says, "All right, tell me, what are you going to do today?" "Well, I'll catch the last bus back to Nainital and this town in the hills, and then I guess I'll close the shop up, and in the morning I'll get up and do this and that. And then you?" "Same thing." But he says, "See, you've all got your lives planned. You're not going to do it anyway. Where's the room to give you any teaching? You wouldn't be able to do it anyway. You're busy. Why should I teach?" Then he said, "Beings come already taught by God. And anyone who poses as a teacher does so for the sake of their own ego. We're just fruit ripening. What's the big deal? Why do we have to be so involved with it? The sun's out, we're ripening. And the sun knows what he's doing, When you ask him, like, "Well, how can I raise Kundalini?" He'd say, "Feed people." What? I mean, what about, like breathing and, meditation? Feed people. Well, how can I find God? Serve people. Live as if we're all one, and you'll realize we all are. He didn't say that. I said that. That's even too much for him to say. How do I meditate? Meditate like Christ. What? I'm in the Himalayas with this little old Hindu guy, and he's talking to me about Jesus. Meditate like Christ. Luckily, somebody had half a brain and said, well, how did Christ meditate? Hey, it was 50-50 whether we're going to get that or not, you know? So Maharaj, he just sat there first. He went to answer the question, he went to say something, and then it was as if he received like a jolt, All of a sudden he sat up very straight, which he never did. Never, in the whole years I was in India with him, I maybe saw him sit up straight and quiet 3 or 4 times. And he just sat there. And I want to tell you, there was a bird that had been flying across the courtyard. It stopped in midair. It seemed like the whole world had just stopped. It stopped moving, that there was no motion anywhere. And then this tear comes down his cheek. We couldn't believe it, We just had never seen it. And then he kind of shook himself and kind of got funky again, and then he just said, he lost himself in love. That's how he meditated. He lost himself in love. He was one with all beings. He loved everyone, even the people who nailed him to the cross. He lost himself in love. Now, I was ready to sit cross-legged, watch my breath, and do any type of difficult meditation practice that I could find, but I was not ready to lose myself in love. Many years of having myself ground down into a grindstone of life had to happen first before I could even begin to understand what that meant. Shri Hari Sharanam